Hello and welcome to ExegeTV. I'm Michael Halcom. In this episode of ExegeTV, I want to say a few words about how in the sermon process we might move from ancient text to our world today. In other words, how we bridge the horizons, antiquity and modernity. The hermeneutical process or interpretive method, and really this is a bit simplistic, it's a bit of a simplistic description, but that's okay, I think you get the point. But the interpretive method that I tend to use kind of works this way. Again, there's a little more to it, but this is a simplistic version. So after I have read and read and reread the biblical text many times, and after I've pored over it for hours upon hours studying it and engaging with other scholars who have read this text and interpreted it throughout history, I have a choice to make. I have to decide what the text is trying to say. Sometimes a text will be making maybe one big point. Sometimes it may be making numerous points. And one approach is to ask, what would the people of antiquity see as the text's major or even overarching implication? Implication, that's a key word here. We might also ask, are there a number of smaller implications or even big implications? Theological, ethical, financial, spiritual, emotional, relational, etc. There are a number of implications that they would have drawn from this. And once we've included on the implication or some of the implications of the text, back then, we can then ask, in the setting I'm in today, how might this community adapt to the text? Adapt, another key word. Adaptation. How might the community adapt to the text? And also, how might the text adapt to us? So we've moved from implication, ancient implication, to the stage of adaptation. For instance, if we're reading Paul's letter to the Ephesians where he says, submit to one another. And then he goes on to talk about husbands loving their wives and wives submitting to their husbands. We would ask, well, what would the ancients have taken as the implication or implications of what Paul just said? Just as an example, maybe off the top of my head, we might say that an implication of that is to submit to one another. An implication they would have derived from that was to serve one another out of love and humility. And so, moving from that ancient implication to adaptation, we might ask, so how do we adapt that? And how does it adapt to us? Well, we might adapt to it in terms of our own marital or other relationships. It might adapt to us in that it finds fresh meaning in a new setting, in a new context. So we move from ancient implication to adaptation, and from there to modern application. Implication, adaptation, application. How would we apply the Ephesians passage practically today? The way that it's made visible for us today is maybe sacrificing for our spouses, or in being there when they need us, in loving them always, in treating them kindly and gently, in speaking edifyingly to them. There are many ways that this text can be applied practically today as we've moved through the implication, adaptation, and finally application process. We see that there are a number of ways it could be applied, a number of situations it could be applied in today. As I said, it could deal with the marital relationship, the husband and wife relationship. It could also deal with other types of relationships. So while relationships may be similar to ancient ones today, or while they may be very different from ancient ones today, what the text said then certainly finds a place to work and speak within our context and setting now. So as we go from ancient text to modern setting, we move through the process at some point by going from ancient implication to adaptation to application. It's a little simplistic, I know, but that's okay. Hope it helps.